thing I do that I know like a lot of coaches probably don't do is I try to watch like basically the whole game first and then go back.
Okay.
And the reason I do that is because I don't want to hop on something really small and minute that either doesn't happen again or like isn't very like relevant overall. Like I want to focus on stuff that's like going to help you in most of your games, right? Or is like quite common.
Hmm.
So I could see you SD once and be like, yeah, you should work on your thing,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's like not, you know. Yeah, if you want to just make a note in your head or write down or whatever, like anything, like we said, that has some like sort of reaction with you,
Hmm.
then I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta work on your tech skill. uh, yeah, I can definitely tell you have like quite an interesting skill set to me, at least when it comes to like a matchup.
Okay.
Um,
I'll be
it's funny
interested
because
to hear.
I've been watching like I've been coaching a lot of American players recently, and pretty much all of them have this thing where like they're pretty good at sort of the PvP aspects and knowing what their opponent wants to do, but they're really bad at the specifics. And I always
Okay.
feel like the as Europeans are like sort of the other way around. And like I'm seeing you do some really good stuff, like take laser up smashing and trying to like dash forward and all of that. But then like it feels like some of the just like general like ideas are maybe a bit iffy.
Hmm.
So I always find it quite interesting how it changes. But yeah, I think from what you said and like just from watching that game, it sounds like maybe what we need is some sort of like rules or like general concepts to go over, and then you can sort of like apply them to those little like specific things, you know.
Okay.
Does that sound like reasonable to you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I'll go over a few things first, and then that might sort of answer some of those, like anything you wrote down or thought about
Yeah.
as we were watching. Um, so I think the first thing, uh, I mean, I don't know how much you've thought about like advantage versus being in like a disadvantage, right? Like, I think that's a really fundamental thing for melee, and I think it applies a lot to fighting. Like, obviously, it applies to fighting any character, but Falco specifically, just because the whole time you're like fighting at either like a slight disadvantage or right, because you're getting lasered a lot. You're having to like avoid lasers and all that good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, just the idea that like you're kind of constantly pinned down, so just knowing when you have opportunities and when you don't is super
Exactly.
useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I like to split pretty much every Falco matchup, at least, is into two phases. So phase one is like your you can't hit Falco for lasering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an easy example is like you're both on opposite sides of the screen. In fact, if you want, we can actually. Would it help if we like went into a game to
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
this? Or,
Yeah, sure.
Some people definitely find this easier than like what's it called? You know, just
Just
sitting
talking
in a,
about it? Yeah,
in a
yeah.
pod and talking about it.
My tag is Verge0.
Okay. I saw your Discord thing. You got like Verge 0001.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Right.
Wait, I didn't realize that you're. Oh, you're not showing yours. What's yours?
Oh, I typed it in the thing. Mine's FRNZ.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see. I had
okay. Okay.
I had the screen share like full screen, so I didn't see.
Mm-hmm. Let's just go out and go to F because I think that's first.
Sure.
Yeah, so the two phases, right? So phase one is where you can't hit Falco lasering, right? And there's always like a couple of factors for whether you can or can't hit Falco for doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is space, right? If we're this far away, obviously you can't hit me, right?
Yeah.
The second one is time. So let's say I'm really far away, but I'm if you like up smash me, like I've got less time to shoot now, right? Because I'm teching, like I'm in a disadvantage, like in terms of frames. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like I could be this far away, like if you up smash me, but you could hit me for lasering still because you have more time, right?
Yeah, like hitting you on the startup if you choose to laser after your action, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third, so that's like the two like most important things to get down first of all. And the opposite of that is like you can be what's it called? So sorry. The other part is like how Falco chooses to laser as well. So like there's a difference between him doing this and doing this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like this one you could have punished if you run up smash or whatever. But this one you can't.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So phase one is always about like going from a position where you can't hit Falco for lasering to a position where you can. So either closing the distance, putting me in frame disadvantage. So like, it doesn't just have to be using me. For example, if I do this, I've got less time to work with now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do that by just like being there and sort of being scary, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the main idea, and of course like. The worst Falcos will sort of like just do this and won't really assess that. And they'll just try and do this and hope. But then the better Falcos will try to like, they'll know if they can and can't laser.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I understand, but I think what I want to ask is like, are you coming at it from the idea that we're just choosing our options as soon as possible and not like reacting to what the opponent is doing, or do you mean like I see that you're teching, so I know that I'll be able to like run up smash and hit you in your short hop when you
both.
laser? Okay.
It's both. So like, so an example of the first one will be like if we're both here, right, and we go 3, 2, 1, pick an option, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Then that would be like we're just picking at the same time, and if I want to do this, then that's risky.
Yeah.
But then the other one was like, say we're neutraling, I whiffed, and then and then you see that and you make that judgment.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is, for reference, pretty much the only reacting I can really conceptualize at the moment, and that I do constantly, is like I'm literally dash dancing, looking for something, and then I run up, grab, because you down air, and I don't know.
Yeah, and the reason that's hard for you to do it in other spots is, I think, because you don't have these like pre-planned sequences from analysis. Because it's a lot harder to react to something when you either aren't expecting it or haven't seen it before.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yeah. So the other parts of this as well is like, so this is phase 1, right? And then phase 2 is when we're, say, here. And like I can't laser safely anymore, and I put safely in sort of like air quotes because I can still do it, but obviously, you know, I'm risking that. So then once you're here, that's when you get to play sort of like the more traditional neutral, where you can, you know, use your dash dancing, use your like full hops,
Yeah.
and sort of outspace me. Like, this is where you have the advantage. Whereas when we're here, this is when Falco has the advantage, right?
Yeah.
And we want to be like avoiding the spots where our opponent has advantage and pushing the spots where we have the advantage, right? Just as like a general
Okay.
rule for like any matchup or any, you know, sort of competitive thing. So the big question, and I think the big thing a lot of people get wrong, is they try to go from phase 1 to phase 2 either too quickly or they just skip it entirely. Which I think is sort of what you were doing in a way. So like, the Falco would be lasering here, and you're trying to like force a hit by like up smashing or take lasering and trying to attack.
Yeah.
When it's not really on the table unless the Falco wants to do something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Which he could do, but.
Yeah. Okay. I think something I found myself doing in the analysis I have been doing is like, if you laser me, I'll just like go like that.
Yeah.
And it's clear that like if they do just, I don't know, dash away after their laser, they won't get hit. It's still like something that I just find myself doing, and I guess I just don't have the like tools to like know what to do otherwise.
Yeah. You don't know what else to do, so you just stick to what you know.
Yeah, because sometimes it works. Sometimes they get kills.
Again, if they're just brain dead doing this, like, go for it. And that's not to say that you can never just go for a big commitment from phase 1. It's just the like, you got to think about how smart the opponent's playing, right? And like how they're playing it. And I felt like that guy we were watching was sort of playing at this range a lot, and you ended up giving him a lot of like easy openings, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in terms of getting from like phase 1 to phase 2, you want to be doing a lot more like sort of soft committal things. So stuff like run up shield, or like full hop and then don't do anything and see what happens, you know?
Okay.
Because I laser and I see that and I'm like, ah, shit. He's gonna hit me,
Okay.
But he also can't, right? Like.
Yeah.
So if we do, so I'm gonna laser after I taunt, and then you can run up shield me, right? So.
Okay.
Like, I see this and I'm scared because like you could have power shielded me, and now I can't laser from here, right? Because you can push out and hit me.
Yeah.
But if I tried to do like approaching aerial or something here, you can hit me out of shield, right? So it's very little risk, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good reward in that you've got a good position now.
Okay.
It's not like you get a hit immediately, which is sort of what that like doing this was. It was high risk, high reward, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be doing more of those options to get to like phase 2, and then from there you make those big reads and like commitments and stuff. Because once like I'm here, for example, and you're over here, where I'm jumping.
Yeah.
Like, this is where if you get one read, I die, right? Like,
yeah.
you read my full hop, I die. You double shine me in the corner, I die. Like, yeah, you know. So that's where it's more valuable to make the big read compared to like we're in center stage and you try to sort of YOLO at me.
Yeah, for sure.
Do that. it's just got a lower like success rate, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And yeah, lower reward. So I feel like that's the sort of baseline in this matchup, and with both of those phases, there's obviously like counterplay from Farco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do that run up shield when we're in phase 1, I can just sometimes do this.
Okay,
Or,
like instead of lasering, or do you?
Yeah, as a read.
Yeah.
I can do
Oh,
this,
sick.
which is what
Yeah.
Farco did. But then if I'm not lasering, then you're in phase 2 now, right? Because you have time, which is what I was saying about if I do this or something.
Okay.
You've got
Wait,
more time to work.
I wanna like think about this. So there'd be a situation where we're like this, and then you, like, without seeing me move forward, just go like that.
Yeah.
And you would do that like against prop.
I would do that.
Okay,
Because
that kind of blows my mind. Okay.
it's a pretty high level thing, and I only do it versus like the top players.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I know that their goal is to get to phase 2, so I need to do stuff to stop them. Because I can't just keep doing this forever. Like, I want to play phase 1, I want to play phase 1.
Yeah.
Because I run out of stage, right?
Yeah.
So I have to take that risk sometimes. I mean, it's a similar reason to like why you can't just keep dash backing forever, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually, you know, you're gonna get chase down.
Yeah.
In like other matchups, for example. But I mean, the other thing is it isn't really like as risky as it seems for me. Because like yeah, I'm in lag if I do this, but you can only like true punish it if you're specifically like looking for me to do this.
Yeah. It makes
Like,
sense.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense the way you're explaining it and the way you got to that point.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the idea of me, like, not conceptualizing before that, like, we're both kind of just choosing one option, and I don't need to like see you start that option to choose a counterplay.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially if especially if you're picking something that's like less risky, like that run up shield, right? Like then it doesn't matter as much. Whereas the like up air you were showing, I think that's a great example because it's something that like, you know, as Falco, I just move away and I see it and I hit you, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to really be going for that sort of thing much. That's the same as me being here and then just doing this. And
Yeah.
it's just me rolling the dice, and it's like, you know, if I'm right, I'm right, and if I'm wrong, I
Yeah.
So, you know, it has its place, obviously, but yeah, it's definitely not what you want to be like defaulting to.
Okay. Yeah. I think part of that is being a lot more familiar with my opponent's options in general.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I'm definitely, when I'm doing that up air, or even when I'm just like doing a running nair or something, I don't think I'm ever thinking like, oh, this will hit them if they decide to start up like a shuffled aerial. I'm just like, okay, I hit.
Yeah, I hit, exactly. Yeah, I just want to hit them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you start to read, like, you don't even have to read like the specific option they do, because a lot of things in melee sort of like soft cover, or like you get a good situation after, but it's not like
yeah, of course, yeah,
a direct hit. Like melee's not really a like, it is a rock paper scissors game, but it's in like many different sort of stages and steps.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Not like, yeah. You know, it's not always like we pick options and I win and you lose.
Yeah.
Sometimes we both pick something and we both do nothing, right?
Yeah. Just with like how many variables there are, especially compared to like, I don't know, Street Fighter or something. Like, there's just a million little things in melee.
And that's where I think having these like general rules and concepts, like this like phase 1, phase 2, really helps, because when something weird happens, you still have something to fall back on. Whereas when it's like, oh, I've just got these like little labs, like, oh, I take laser up smash sometimes. Like it doesn't really give you anything to work with, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So now what we do from here is we sort of take that framework of phase 1 and 2, and we see which tools fit into those, right? So I think the easy one to start off with is like how do we deal with Falco doing this, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like the baseline that every sort of Falco does.
Yeah.
So currently we're in phase 1, right?
Mhm.
So we need to get to phase 2 first, and then we deal with this.
Okay.
So
So
like
would you
run
say
a shield.
phase 1 is like everything that isn't like this? Or does this still be like...
This, or me not having enough... Remember, it's spacing...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's why you call it like phase and not like distance.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
distance is very misleading, because, you know, I could be here, and like a laser's unsafe if I have to do this, and then...
Yeah,
this
totally.
was, you know,
Okay, yeah. Oh wow, yeah, that's honestly like blowing my mind as well, because even during like previous coaching stuff, I would always be thinking of like distances and never like actionability.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it explains it the best, but the place I learned this from was Fox made a blog post a while ago about sort of frame advantage in neutral, which is basically the idea that like if I whip this back air, for example, I'm like -8 or whatever it is, and that means that like you get 8 extra frames to do something, right? Like, that's obvious frame-based stuff, but what that means is that doesn't mean you just get a guaranteed hit, and it doesn't mean you get just like a whiff punish, but it does mean you have like the initiative, like you have a little bit of just like advantage, you know, like you can do more with it than they can. They're the one that's sort of scared when something like this happens.
Okay. So, for example, and I'm sorry if I'm like stopping you a lot, but it's kind of how yeah. If you like, I don't know, whip a back air and you're like a -8 or whatever, and I know that in 8 frames I can move this much closer.
Yeah.
Would it make sense conceptually to think, okay, I'm gonna move closer this amount of time, and then I'm gonna do this option because I know that I'll be like at this range at this point, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it depends on like the move. So this is where reactions play into it, right?
Yeah.
Which I think you said you're a little bit. So like I think the easiest one to work with is like me doing this, right?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I know you can probably whip on. Like,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like dash grab. But something like back air, you can't see the back air and then whip punish it. Because by the time you've seen this and then moved in and then shined or grabbed or whatever, like I'm already out of lag.
Yeah.
So you sort of need to see this and then sort of make an educated guess on like what I'm going to do after.
Okay.
And that's in your favor because I don't have as much time, so that means I don't have as many options, right? Like I can't laser out after this safely.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
But you know, you can do whatever you want. You could jump full hop over me, which usually takes a long time, but because I'm negative here, you have the time to do that.
Yeah.
Which is that's like a really classic thing for like mid-high level foxes, is they see somebody whiffing, and they use that time to get above them and set up a good position.
Okay.
And that's another example of sort of phase 2, but it's vertically instead of like...
Yeah, I get that. And then is it... am I correct in thinking that the jump is like the committal and then like the action afterwards is... I guess I'm just asking about like how much is like pre-planned would you expect?
From fox jumping? Or...
Yeah, like I see you do the back air, I do the jump to get into like this kind of range. Yeah. And then like the step after, I guess I'd be making that choice like after I did the input.
So I think the big thing here is you usually want to do it when Falco jumps rather than when back airs. Because like if you try jumping as soon as you see me jump, so that happens, which is a lot better for you compared to do it when you see the back air. Like I can already move out of the way or something, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you know like what you're
looking for.
Like what you're looking for. So if you do that jump over me when I jump, okay, let me do it again because I'm gonna back air. So you see me whiff, and then that's when you go like, you know, do I want to try and drill this? Do I want to try and like tomahawk? Do I want to try and jump away because I don't think it's that good for me?
Yeah.
And like, you can do that, but then you could also like, you don't have to jump directly on top of me from there, right? You could also just jump to like this space here.
Yeah.
And that's also good because then I whip this and then you're plus. Again, it's like it's not you get a direct hit. It's you're plus.
Yeah, I mean like a more favorable position or plus. Yeah.
Yeah, and like 90% of Falco's gonna do this, right?
Yeah.
And then this is where you can whiff punish, right? Because if you're next to me, oh fuck, if you're next to me and I whiff this up tilt, it's a lot easier to punish.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Compared to when we're here, and there's no way of.
Yeah. Right? Okay, sweet.
Yeah. So like punishing and the reactions and all that depends a lot on again like the space and time you have. Because if you're standing still, it's different punishing the up tilt compared to like when you just whiffed a nair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Because what you mean? Because I'm like in lag, and I just like won't have the opportunity
so you've got
to.
less time.
Yeah.
And do you see how that is sort of the same as like this phase 1 and phase 2 with?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I don't know. I always feel like people that don't really understand Falco don't also understand a lot of like with punishing and and that
yeah,
sort of thing.
I can see that.
I personally think they're sort of similar, but yeah, obviously like there's a lot of things happening, and the difference with Falco is you have to deal with all of this laser stuff and play normal neutral, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it gets complicated. But yeah, I think that gives us a good sort of baseline to look at that game that we just watched now.
Yeah.
Was there anything you picked up on when you were watching?
Yeah, I made some notes. I think, like I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of times when I was edge guarding and the Falco was up being, and I just was like completely lost. I guess it wasn't the fact that like I didn't cover it. It was more that I could tell that I was just like guessing what to do and like not looking at the situation early enough.
Yeah.
Or like knowing what to do early enough. Kind of linked to this stage, or I think you call it stage 1, stage 2.
Yeah.
Where I'd go for a grab because I thought that I'd be able to whiff punish, and the Falco would just spot dodge shine because I was just grabbing too late. I think they're the main ones that were like related to kind of what you've been talking about, at least.
All right, awesome. Yeah, okay. So let's go out of this and we can go over a little bit of what we saw. But I think once you start, like, it's gonna take a while to play versus Falco and see the game that way, or at least see the matchup that way. But I think once you have it down, it makes sort of I always call it like troubleshooting or like debugging a matchup where you're trying to fix all these like little problems that are happening.
Yeah.
I think that gets a lot easier once you have that sort of framework to work with.
Okay, yeah.
Let me share my screen again. And you'll probably end up cringing a lot of your decisions you make, but that's fine with your newfound knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. Can you see okay?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, nice. Let me just turn my volume down. So immediately this one, right? Like,
yeah, I see it.
So like there is a world where this hits, you know, if he tries to approaching laser into you.
Yeah.
But you're definitely in phase 1, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of like what you want to do instead, run up shield, like we said, is really good here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get to like here. You're still not in phase 2 yet, but you're in center. He's in the corner, and you've got a better position than all the way over here, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing you can do is sort of avoid the laser. So jumping over it is pretty good. So full hop. Or going to the platform is the other one as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both pretty good options for far away. I think this is just a drop to sort of tech chase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like, I just wasn't close enough while I was crouching, but I just went for it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is another one where so you whiff this and now you're in phase two again, right? Because even though
Mhm.
you're close, you just whiff
Yeah.
back here. Yeah. So I like that you did dash away power shield because I think that was pretty. You know, you didn't have that great of a spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then dash up shield was good here. So then I think it would also be helpful to look at like what Falco wants here, right? Like Falco wants you to sort of be committing in phase one so that he can get like, you know, he wants you to be doing stuff like those up smashes, right? So
Mhm.
that he can get his openings. And then when you're in phase two, he wants you to like, um, either like try to commit to him out of a laser and then he stuffs you with something, or maybe moves out of the way, or he wants to read when you're going to sort of wait for him and then get a laser out.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the best way to describe it. So like this is a classic one where Falco can't get. It's phase two, right? Because you just shined him and he's knocked down.
Mhm.
But if you ran all the way like immediately, he doesn't have time to get a laser out.
Yeah. True. True.
That makes sense. So I think a really key part of this matchup is like getting good value out of this knockdown, and not just like, oh, you know, you hit your punish off of this. It's like the neutral after as well,
Okay.
because a lot of foxes they sort of get this knockdown and then they're either in the I'm gonna run up and try and hit him camp, or they're in the I'm gonna run away and full hop back air camp.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like you need to do both depending on how they play.
Okay.
So, and in terms of frames, right? Like you're plus here, and then you get to here before like you're back to neutral in terms of frames, right?
Yeah.
So this is pretty good for you, I'd say.
Mm.
I don't know why I stopped. um, yeah, it does seem like maybe some of your spacing is a little bit off as well. So like on the roll, for example, I like that you wave dash, but then I don't think you needed to like wave dash back that far. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
like.
don't know if you would punish like an aerial, maybe.
Yeah. I think it's still like. Um. Quite all over the place as well. I don't think it's like as thought out
Okay.
as like it should be.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk through it then.
Yeah.
You think it's good? So when you get this right, so if we pause it, so this is when you're neutral.
Mhm.
So in terms of like Falco's like ways to get out of the corner, right? Obviously the really basic ones are like he aerials out, right, or he lasers, like, you know, just full short hop in, down air, now, whatever.
Yeah.
Or approaching laser. So you sort of have two ways to deal with that. Number one is like full hopping over it, right?
Mm.
Because it doesn't really matter if he lasers or he aerials, it's just going to sort of beat it.
Yeah.
And then the other one is you can dash dance and sort of wait for it. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Or you can, you know, throw out a move and try and stuff it to like up smash or up tilt. So I think that was why I said like this wave dash. It felt like it only really covered aerial. I feel like so it just didn't. Whereas like, you know, you stay here and you full hop or you throw out a move or you dash dance. I feel like you could have punished this roll anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and so you're sort of covering multiple things, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And then even like my inputs after, like I think I like dash away, right, like after the wave dash and then do a back air, which is just like even more like giving them way too much space.
Yeah, I think the other thing you might have done as well here is like when you do a wave dash, like that's usually your cue to watch what they do. and then play from there because you're already in lag, right?
Okay.
So you may as well be just watching them and reacting to what happens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it almost feels like you did the wave dash and then you dashed back, so it sort of felt like you were covering the same thing twice.
Yeah, totally. I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Yeah.
Whereas, like, I think it could have worked if you just you do this wave dash and then you just stand and wait,
Yeah.
and you'd have seen the roll and then you just dash and grab, or you see
Yeah.
his aerial and then you up smash or you dash dance grab or
Yeah.
whatever
Totally.
you want to do, right? So yeah, they're like the main like easy options to look for when Falco's coming out of the corner is like those full lit like drifting aerials like roll. But then obviously they can if they know that they can't just like run out of the corner at you, right?
Yeah.
Then they might do something like lasering in the corner, for example, and that's when you want to start throwing in those like just run up, like keep running towards them, and then try to look to like late aerial or like shine him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I know like playing this, I didn't get the shine. Like see that they rolled away like while I was running here. I wasn't thinking like, okay, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? I'm gonna do a full hop to like be able to cover their net options.
Yeah.
I guess I'm like,
that's how you want to be thinking.
yeah, like I mean, like my head at this moment, like I don't even know if I was even aware that I was, like in an advantageous position.
At an advantage, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I asked at the start. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, how much do you think about it? Because again, like this isn't exclusive to the Falco matchup. Like you getting a shine knockdown on somebody, and then having to play this situation. That's like pretty universal. I feel like.
Yeah,
It could
of
be,
course,
like, a
yeah.
net knockdown. And I feel like what gets lost now sometimes is when people think about tech chasing, they just think about like getting the combo. And then if they don't get the combo, they sort of just go for it anyway. And that's where you end up getting, like reversal.
You'll see that I do that. Yeah.
But there's this whole game of like, even if you drop it, they're still in a disadvantage, and that's where you're sort of playing neutral again.
Yeah.
But this time it's like better for you, right? But yeah, so like this is what that's what Prof would be thinking in this sort of situation, right? Is like, is he gonna try and full hop? Is he gonna try and jump at me and hit me? Is he gonna play a bit safe so I can go in and pressure him? Like he might not be consciously thinking those things, but he's definitely thought about them at some point, and then that's sort of transferred to his gameplay. But for now, for you, I think that's probably going to be a bit too much, and I just want you to think about: am I at an advantage or a disadvantage?
Okay.
And like once you got that down, you can tell pretty easily. That's when we can move on to some of these like more specific. Oh, I'm going to call out this full hop in this way, or that sort of thing. And it translates the other way, right? Like this time you're in the corner and he's plus because you just spot dodged and he's dead. So you can't really just run up and hit him. Right? He's just gonna hit you first. I mean, you can, and this is where like the sort of Yomi and mind games and all that stuff comes in, right? Like just because it's unsafe to him doesn't mean you can't. But as sort of like a level 1 or a baseline, like you don't want to be trying to hit people when you're at a disadvantage, right? Like you want to be trying to reposition and sort of get to a better spot.
Yeah.
So what I'd be thinking about as my sort of baseline here as Fox is like maybe full hopping to the platform, or maybe like shielding and waiting for something.
Okay.
Basically, you want to be doing stuff that like makes them take a risk or give something up. Like for Falco to hit you out of shield there, he has to like run up grab, right? Or to hit you for full hopping, he has to like full hop himself and then back at you.
Yeah.
And they're both things where like if you don't do those options, then suddenly you're doing a lot better, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And again, that goes like both ways in terms of like both when you're at the advantage and the disadvantage. Like you want them to have to take risks to sort of hit you.
Yeah, yeah, and not, yeah, definitely. Rather than like it just being the level one that they can do something safe and then get a punish, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like you don't want to be playing into that, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't
for
want
sure.
to just be running into the brick wall,
Yeah,
if that
yeah.
sort of analogy, which is what you're doing here, right? Like, you want to be jumping over the wall or like running around the wall or
And making
you
the
know.
wall come to me. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a bit of a dumb analogy, but like it also, I think it sort of highlights that concept well. Um, and yeah, flipping it back to the other side, like when you were the in the advantage position and he was in the corner, like you want to force him to have to run into the wall.
Yeah.
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 Awesome. Okay. Um, so I really like this. So we're in phase one.
Mm-hmm.
Run up shield is nice. You wave dash, create some space, and then you jump over the laser here, right?
Yeah.
And again, like that's pretty good because you're not minus because the laser hit you, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're in the air, and you've also set up a good position because now you're sort of above Falco, and it's kind of tricky for him to hit you.
Yeah.
So that's the thing we were on about where we said like you want to do stuff that's not that committal and puts you in a good position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because from here you do this run off back air, which is really good. And you can see how like it's a lot easier to hit Falco from a spot like this compared to like when you were the other side of the stage.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we want to be setting up more of those sorts of spots. And again, like how does Falco deal with this? He has to like not laser and then read you going up here and then go up and shine you, right?
Yeah.
But if he's not doing that, then he's not lasering and suddenly you have more time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So do you see how it sort of like all sort of links together?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
And yeah, that's sort of like and I think once you understand that a bit better, that's when you'll sort of really see that like that grab I was doing wasn't actually that unreasonable,
Yeah, yeah.
because I've got all of this like conditioning and game theory and all of that behind it, but on the surface level of he's just whiffing grab in the middle of the stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just how crazy melee is sometimes, and I will do that grab and versus someone in pools I will just get hit, and
Yeah.
and that's how it is, but you sort of need those sorts of things to be able to do well versus the better players. So yeah, we can talk a little bit about edge guards if you want. It sounds like that was a pretty big thing for you as well. So have you watched much like Top Fox's edge guarding, or do you feel like you have a decent idea of what you're looking to do?
My idea is like just back air, I guess, like back air the up Bs that are like going close to like trying to go on stage or like go to ledge, or I guess like grab if they can only go to ledge.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess honestly it's just like back air.
I mean, back air's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's a good start. Yeah, okay. So I'd say like there's a couple of things. So first of all, you always have the option, if you know where they're gonna double jump to, you can always just go out and full hop shine them, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's important to remember because that removes all of the like, I don't know what angle he's gonna pick, if he's gonna side B or up B, all of that. Like if you know they always double jump immediately, like you can get a lot of value out of just punishing that, like getting that read rather than.
Okay. Yeah.
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 And then the second part I'd say here is like, you always want to be covering like multiple angles. You don't want to be going for like a one-to-one read that much, if that makes sense. So the reason the back airs are good is because they're quite low lag, so they can cover like multiple options, right? And so what you'll see someone like Leffen do is he tries to bear in spots where like either the bear itself covers multiple angles or he can do something after the bear. So like you see people do like bear and then dash tech, right? Which I think you do later
Mm.
on. But yeah, I feel like what might help here as well is maybe grabbing the ledge more sometimes because it's a lot easier to cover multiple angles from the ledge.
Okay.
Because right now it's really like I don't think you can cover both straight and ledge that easily, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to bear edge cancel or something crazy. Which is why he goes to which is why like you try to cover ledge and then he goes high. So you're essentially playing like a 50-50, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where either you cover these high ones or he goes low. But if you cover 2 out of the 3 angles, then you're playing like a 66-33, right? Which is, you know, what we want when we're edge guarding. We want to be covering more if possible.
So if I'm holding, like, if I like wave dash, like from this position, I like wave dash to ledge, so that would the timing be so that if they try and go to ledge, I'll just be like there the invincibility, like a ramen noodle sort of thing, and then I can like ledge dash to cover other stuff, or did you have another idea?
I think you could have got ledge by like now, and then from here you do like a low bear or a high bear or
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So that's like the sort of the 3-way like dynamic is sort of you do low bear and it covers down and straight. You can do a high bear which covers like straight and up, or you regular get up and that covers like low and high. It does lose to like them going straight, but the straight's covered by both back airs, so it's sort of like risky for them to go for.
Okay. And you're talking about just like a ledge hop back air when you got high and
just
low.
different types of ledge hop back air, So, but the reason you might not want to go to ledge is because it makes it quite hard to cover side B on stage. Right?
Yeah.
So then that's when being on stage like this can be better because it's sort of like, yeah, you only get a 50-50 on this up B, but you get to cover the other things better. So edge guarding's weird in that like there's multiple reads involved and like multiple layers of reads, and you're not going to be able to like edge guard them all the time.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important to realize is it's sort of like a percentage game or like it's just like mix-ups in neutral at the end of the day, or like DI mix-ups and that sort of thing. But I think having a solid like flowchart like that really helps you like sort of up that percentage. And again, a lot of people even at high level have little habits like always double jumping in a certain spot, which is like where you get a lot of value out of like shine spikes and stuff. So like this is another one I think. So you hit him off, immediate double jump up B, right? In the same sort of spot. So that was where, you know, you might have just jumped out, seen the up B, and but even if he side Bs, like you can always jump away, right?
Okay, yeah.
Or usually you can jump away. They can do some like tricky jump drifts, but if you have a read on where they're gonna jump to, it's usually a kill.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
But yeah, again, this is another one where maybe, you know, you grab ledge instead. Like maybe run shine turn around, wave dash to ledge. Or dash dance shield stop, wave dash to ledge.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's a lot easier to cover this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the key thing that's going wrong at the moment is maybe you're not edge guarding from the ledge enough. So like even this one as well, like he tries to side B to ledge, and it was going to be pretty hard for you to cover it.
Yeah. For my like early stage of the like my edge guarding journey, would you just recommend just like grabbing ledge every time I want to cover it?
Yeah, I mean, the way I'd probably try to implement it is like play unranked or whatever, and try grabbing the ledge as much as possible and see what it doesn't cover.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there's always more stuff that like stuff doesn't cover rather than does cover. I feel like.
Yeah.
So like the main ones for the ledge is like I say, them side being either high or like up being really high. Because like obviously you're quite low down on the ledge, right?
Yeah.
And then I'd also work on like for solo practice stuff, like getting to the ledge quickly and like moving off of it well, you know, with like the different bear heights.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. But yeah, I think what might be useful, because I think we've got like 20 minutes, 15 minutes or something. Might be to look at some of Leffen playing in edge guarding.
Okay.
I think you'd be able to see that a lot clearer, like how it sort of functions. And I mean, I think we've got like, I think you've got enough to work with in terms of like the neutral stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let me find any mod of Leffen ever. I'm sure it has a good edge guarding. Which one was me? Or maybe watch one versus like still a top 100 Falco, but like maybe one of the lower down ones, just because I think it forces those situations more, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, do you feel like this is all making sense and it's pretty useful so far? Or
yeah, definitely. I feel like I've got loads of things to like think about and to play like the game mindfully and to like practice and solo practice. Like, yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Right, let's watch. I'm looking at the stocks because usually if it's a high stock count, it's usually left and like edge guarded them really well. And if he isn't edge guarding well, then it's usually pretty close. Oops. Yes, I'm just gonna super speedy through this. Try to find an edge guard. I mean, it might also be. I think we can watch it at full speed actually, because I think then we can also point out some of those like phase 1, phase 2 stuff. Might be useful. So again, like he gets the shine knocked down, and then we're in phase 2, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's quite far away. And they're playing on that level of sort of like Falco knows he doesn't want to just immediately run in. But then obviously Leffen knows that, so he was trying to
shine the full hop, like
maybe try and shine a laser.
Okay.
Yeah, immediately goes.
Oh my god! Yeah, do exactly what you said. Yeah, like grabs ledge and then does like the highest back air from ledge I've seen. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that one I don't actually think it covered straight. I think he just got a really hard read.
Okay, yeah.
But
I mean, it covered up.
Like he
yeah.
immediately goes to ledge, and as soon as he does that, it cuts off like it's a lot easier to cover multiple angles.
Yeah.
Like, and of course, like he could have side B'd up here, but then you still have time to like get up and punish that, unless they get like an edge cancel. But yeah, it's pretty funny that like it was just like exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But then like the other thing he could have done, right? Like you see how it was the same sort of double jump that other Falco did. Like Leffen will start going just for shines when he sees like, they always do that same jump or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know like what options I have for like a hard read and what is like
Yeah.
a kind of safe, like I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, so like I'd say there's like 2 or 3 parts of this edge guard. So he goes to ledge, which is him betting that Falco won't just like double jump side B instantly,
Yeah.
um, or do like shine stall,
Mhm.
and then he's betting here that like Falco won't just go to ledge,
Yeah.
and it's those 2 reads, like that combo of those 2 reads that gets him the kill. Because again, it's sort of like you want them to take a risk to get back. Like if Falco's having to like double jump down air at you to beat your edge guard, then that's pretty good for you, right? Because it's very easy to just like gimp him from that.
Yeah.
I hate Leffen. But yeah, you can see why he's playing on the platform, right? Because it avoids phase 1, like because Falco doesn't have all that like frame advantage and control and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as Falco starts trying to like jump up and hit him, you're in phase 2 now. And you didn't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And again, like this is a pretty. It can seem risky, but like Falco just got hit all the way and died really bad on the shine. So the only mix-ups he has here is he either has to double jump forward or double jump back. Right?
Yep.
So he just reads double jump in this vicinity and he gets shine. And it's like, yep. And that's why I think that's why he nods his head after some of these, because he's like, yep, I got the read on the edge guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was Leffen being a bit of a chump, in my opinion at least. So, but you see how like he sees the jump and then he's like, I'm gonna jump over, right?
Yeah.
Which is what we sort of talked about. But then because he just went in straight away with this big commitment, like he nared super early, right? So then that loses to like Falco thing. But then if he'd have been a bit like more careful about it and maybe like jumped and then drifted back to try and bait something, or like just double jumped away after he saw that he doesn't actually have a punish. I felt like he was just trying to sort of brute force his way in.
Okay.
This was one of those like hard reads in phase 1. As
Yeah.
describe it. Like this was the equivalent of your full hop up there.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. But because Leffen had been doing so much just like running in and trying to shine him and like hit him for lasering, that's like how he sort of got that to nearly work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is another good example. So like Falco rolls in. And they're like sort of frame neutral here, right? I think Fox has a little bit of advantage because he's crouching. But Leffen doesn't immediately try to go in because he knows that Falco wants to sort of like defend himself because he's minus, right? So then he just uses that to get to a better position because now it's pretty hard for Falco to hit him compared to like when he was on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's back to the platform, and then he's waiting, and he doesn't try to punish the back air, right? He sees his back air, and he doesn't try to punish it because he knows that he doesn't have time. But instead, he
just waits
uses
until
the threat
yeah,
and then gets him to shield, and then he can and now he's got a better situation, right? Because Falco and shield here is better than this, like in terms of like you have more to see or whatever. Brain dead now. Yeah, that was really greedy from him. He hasn't got any edge guards yet. I don't know what he's doing. But you see how like he sort of gets to this position, right? And this is pretty scary for Falco because again, like he didn't get called out for this, so now he's in a really good spot. And again, like you want them to be taking that risk of, you want Falco to have to be willing to just full hop shine randomly in in neutral to call this out.
Yeah.
Which is like the equivalent of that grab I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't watched the set before. Yes, this is phase 2 again, right? So he gets close, which threatens, like, you know, he could hit him out the laser, which makes Falco want to sort of defend himself.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is where he can sort of, like, get his pressure going. And
Yeah.
Leffen and, like, good foxes do a lot of this, where they set up a good position, and that's how you bait them, right? Is like they know they're in a bad spot, so they have to do something about it, or it feels like they have to do something. And he just waits, and eventually, he sort of hangs himself. Is how a lot of people describe it. Because he like Leffen didn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
He just sat
No.
there
Yeah.
dash
Totally.
dancing until. But it's that, like, the reason that works is this whole like again, like all the game theory and the, you know, the baseline and the Yomi and all of that. But then in reality, you know, he literally just sat there and dash danced for 5 seconds and then run up grab. But you have to sort of understand, like, the theory behind that before you can get that to work. Like, you can't just copy paste that dash dance and then, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see he tries to laser here, and this time Leffen's sort of ready and just commits in because he sort of reads the TRT's going to pick that level 2 sort of option. And then he does the low back air, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But again, it's always like he's either on ledge or he's going out to read the double jump.
Yeah. That's a good distinction. Yeah.
Yeah, and like if you're cracked as well, like you can obviously cover side B from the ledge as well. But I think the safer route is personally to either read it from the ledge or play from stage to cover the side B.
Yeah.
Like what a lot of the top boxers will do as well is they'll be on stage, which sort of threatens that they could jump out and shine you, and then they'll just stay there and wait and then hit your side B because you're like, ah shit, I don't want to up B, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with, like, if you've ever seen Nun do that thing where he like jumps out and knees up B.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with shine spiking. Like, they don't want to get kneed, so they just side B in a really bad spot, and then they just get hit on stage. But yeah, so this time he does low back air, which covered this angle and this angle, right?
Yeah.
And it does give up, like, him going high and then fast falling. Because you can sometimes dash attack it, but you sometimes can't.
Yeah.
Sort of depends.
Yeah, I found it to be like super inconsistent. It doesn't like feel good to be relying on it as well. So.
Yeah, it depends on like where they start their up B and how well you do the back air and all that. But you can see how, like, I think Leffen literally hit 100% of his edge guards that game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and yeah, it's just because like he's playing that like 66% game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard for, like, Falco has to make, like, sort of multiple reads to get back. Which is why, like, at least in my opinion, why Mango does so much better at recovering versus Leffen. Because he's able to play on that level, and he understands what's happening. Whereas, like, if a Falco isn't aware, they just get destroyed off stage. Versus Leffen specifically. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. And this is one where, like, so Leffen's on ledge, and he knows the real thing knows that he can't cover side B from ledge, so he goes for like the hard read on it. So like if real thing just up B's here, he actually just gets back fine, or goes low and side B's to ledge. But like, does that make sense? Or
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's sort of like Leffen's sort of. The way I like to describe it is sort of like, you know, when somebody's taking a penalty and somebody stands at one goalpost, and it's like, surely they're not going to just like stand there. It's sort of like that sort of like obvious bait, you know? Like,
okay.
And it's sort of like convincing the other guy to just go to the other side because that's like the really obvious like counterplay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, of course, if you see Leffen here, then you're going to side B high, because there's no way he's going to punish it. You know, because he has to give up everything to punish it, and then he does. But yeah, he does a lot of tricks like that where it looks like he's giving up something, but he's really not. Like he's using the ledge to bait you into thinking that.
Yeah.
And that's another good thing with edge guarding that like Leffen and Mango specifically are really good at. Is they look like they're covering one thing, but they're actually covering another.
Yeah, because they're. I guess is it because they're kind of towing the line of like what is even like physically cover like what you could even like physically do, because I mean he had to get like a really high back air,
Yeah,
and then like
yeah.
you said it was the only thing it could.
It could cover.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, when they're off stage, they only have limited time to react to something, right? Because they're falling, they're off stage, they're gonna die.
Yeah.
So the point of no return is like, for most people, would be now, right? Because they're like, I just saw him get sledged, so I have my chance to get back. But what someone like Mango would do is, he would see this and sort of be like, I know I have another chance to react and pick another option.
Okay.
So like the really good players are recovering, they delay their sort of decision as long as possible to get as much info as they can. Because Falco
Okay.
still has time to like fall lower here if he wants to.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see how Leffen's just sort of dismantling his recoveries, and like it isn't. I feel like a lot of people, they see like his match versus Falco and they're like, you know, he's just doing all these 0 to death big combos. But I actually think a lot of it's the edge guarding that sort of makes it seem that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the difference between hitting 90% in edge guards and hitting 10% is like.
10%.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, like I felt like you got about 3 or 4 edge guards in your game, right? So if you hit all of them,
Yeah. Totally.
you win. So, I think this is also a good time to talk a little bit about phase 1 and phase 2 when it comes to stages as well. So like the reason Yoshi's is so good for Fox in this matchup is because you're always in phase 2. You're nearly always in phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can nearly always hit him for trying to laser.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you want to be abusing that on Yoshi's, and that doesn't mean, you know, you're always rushing him down and you're always trying to hit him. But it means you're always in a position to sort of threaten that.
Yeah.
Right? So when you watch Leffen, he's doing a lot of sort of staying at this sort of range. I could jump in and hit you, but I could also just wait.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then when Falco tries to hit him to defend his space, he's in a really bad spot, right? You know,
Yeah.
He's a lot drilled, he's whiffing, Leffen jumps over him, you know? And again, this is another one. This is what I was saying that good Fox like to do a lot, is they see something and they use that time to jump over. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he messes up with fair here, but yeah. So unless the Falco knows that that's what they're doing, like this usually sets up a pretty good position for you. And if you watch someone like IBDW, who's like the master of this, of just like seeing something, full hopping over it, and then hitting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like such good positional advantage.
Yeah, and again, it's another like low risk thing, but it sets up a good spot, right? Because again, Falco has to like either full hop shine you, which, you know, you're over here, why would he ever full hop shine up here? Or he has to like stand there and just wait and then up tilt.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they're both things where like if you just run over and hit him, then
Yeah.
So it becomes like, I think the difference between like lower level play and higher level play is like the higher level players are trying to stop people getting into those good positions, whereas like the lower level players, not to be mean, but like something like that up air that you did, right? Whereas like I just want to hit him where he is.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Let's watch the end of this game and see if there's any more edge guards, and then we can sort of start wrapping up. But yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of like Leffen sets where he just does this to to Falcos, so including me. So you know, if you want more edge guarding ideas, but that's the sort of like method behind it.
Yeah.
He's literally 100%. Like
yeah.
Crazy.
And every interaction is literally what you said, like grabbing ledge and then just back airing or running off and doing the shine.
because again, like it's the. I mean, there's this sort of commentator cliche about like, oh, the bad option works sometimes at high level, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's literally what happens here. Is the way to beat this is you do the stupid side B that goes on stage.
Yeah.
But Leffen knows that this top 100 guy isn't going to just do some stupid side B.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like I'm not even at a level where I'm playing someone for like 3 games in a row and like putting them into like I wouldn't be able to tell you like what they're probably going to do next or what they have been doing at that point.
But I mean, even your guy, he wasn't doing those like really dumb side Bs, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's really transferable from like a high level set like this, and sometimes it's not really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the idea that I wasn't really thinking about the options being, I guess that like they're very categorized. And I'm looking and I'm like, oh my god, he has like a billion angles and like all these different times he could side B. Like I have no idea. No. But yeah, because the options from Fox's end cover so much, you can kind of like split them apart.
The other way, like what are they not going to do?
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, edge guarding is going to be hard if you're trying to read their exact thing they're
doing. Yeah.
And like you give up everything else, like that's like it's like buying a lottery ticket, right? Like you've just got your 1% chance, and if you win, you win big. But if you don't, then you just dropped everything there, right? Like. He drops an edge guard, holy shit. It was because of the Shy Guys, right? Because that messed up the timing.
Yeah.
Because if the Shy Guy wasn't there, he would have had time to cover this better.
Yeah, because he does, he like does the input, but
it's too like slow because of the time.
Yeah.
Wasted extra frames. But yeah, like if you think about it from Falco's perspective, like he had to pick the one thing that Leffen wasn't covering.
Yeah, which is all the way up, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Leffen was like, he's going to pick this one angle to ledge. It was like, he's not going to pick high angle.
Yeah, totally.
And again, I think the Shy Guys just messed that up, honestly.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like I don't really like the phrase like he dropped the edge guard, because again it's like it's not like he had a Wizzy tech chase and then he messed up. It's more like he had a read, right, and then he guessed wrong.
Yeah.
So I always prefer saying like guess wrong on the edge guard.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the example of like you do the low bear and they actually can't cover it in time. Because you just don't have time to cover all of them. If they pick a good enough angle. And a B starting position.
I remember I heard Prof talk about like
B positions.
Yeah, I think Holly might have told me like it's about when you up B more than like the angles and stuff a lot of the time.
The position gives you the angles, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you up B, what's it called? Like a really classic one Mango does is the up B's here, right?
Yeah.
Because like the difference between this up B and that up B is with the one down here, he can go to ledge, or he can go super high and then fall, and Leffen can't do a back air that covers both of those.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas when you're here, he can do like regular get up, which then covers high and low. So yeah, the position definitely matters a lot. But yeah, like he does this now again, right, where it's sort of like covers Falco trying to escape, but then also puts him in a decent position after.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously, like supplementary to all this, Leffen's got like a really cracked punish game. But I think these things are quite important. He's probably dead. Oh, random. I wonder if he literally picked here so that he wouldn't get edge guarded as hard from all of the cheese. Like, Shy Guys. The meme pick. But now, like you can see how much it's affecting it, right? Like.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%.
Like both of these you would have probably got if there wasn't these other factors. Um,
Freeze it. Yeah, like even that nair in place after he like
yeah,
pressured. Oh, and then he just did the insta like newbie side B.
yeah, and it worked
Yeah.
until, or at least that's what he was going for. I think he was trying to get to ledge probably,
Oh, yeah, yeah, good point.
because
Yeah.
that's probably what you want to do there. But yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, I think the main takeaways from this, like we said, are thinking about those phase 1 and phase 2.
Mhm.
Do you have time to hit him for lasering or not? And sort of thinking about whether you have an advantage or a disadvantage. Like,
Yeah.
don't try and think about all the really specific stuff for now. Just sort of get that down, and then
Okay.
work on
Yeah.
that later.
I do want to ask last.
Yeah.
Once I'm in the position, I think it might be beneficial for me to just have like one option to do like for each. I'm thinking like if I'm in an advantage state, just doing like that full hop in place and like
I was
seeing
gonna
if
say,
they
yeah,
do.
like, so if you have an advantage, I always think like mixing up full hopping
Mm-hmm.
in place and just like running at them with something, so like run up shield or just like late nair in.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a defensive spot, I'd say again like full hop is always really good, and something like rolling.
Yeah, just not the run up and attack them.
And attack them, yeah. Don't run into the wall.
Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome.
Yeah, and then I think you've got some ideas for edge guarding. Like I said, you probably want to do some solo practice to get some of that stuff from ledge down. Like you saw how like high as back airs were.
Yeah. I don't ever back at that high from ledge before. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Prof was actually saying like he didn't even realize he could do that back air until like I think it was like 2 years ago now.
Jeez,
But I never even realized that you could just do like drop from ledge instant jump and then back air really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I think if you did you book 2 or 3 was it lessons? Was it just those 2?
I just booked these 2 for like the hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think if you did want to do another one, I think we'd start to talk a bit more about like Falco or whatever other characters counterplay, like a bit more of the nuance of that like phase 1 and phase 2, because we didn't even get to talk about like, what if Falco doesn't try to place that and they just sort of like laser aerial in,
Yeah.
or things like that. So yeah, I think that would probably be the best thing to work on from there. But yeah, let me know if you have any sort of follow-up questions.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, it's been super good. Like,
okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's been really constructive. Like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I always feel a bit like when people have had other coaches as well. I'm like, I hope I'm not, either saying something they've said before or like not teaching in a way that.
Yeah, I think honestly, what it is like I think with other stuff that I've done, it's like what you picked up on, where it's like, oh, I'm doing like these little things that are like the good thing to do. I think so far a lot of my improvement through coaching has been just like implementing those things without really understanding like the situation or why.
Yeah, I think that's the main flaw a lot of coaches have at the moment, from what I've seen at least. And I think the only people, like, even when you go to like IBW coaching or something like that, he does a lot of like, oh, he's doing this, so let's just take this option.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it's sort of like a band-aid fix in a way, to me at least. And like, I feel like you could have just done only this session and never do another session again, and I think you could construct a pretty solid game plan versus Falco from just this talk, right? And like that's my goal at least.
Yeah, definitely. It really feels like this is the first step to really understanding like that game of Melee, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, like how to actually play the game instead of like it's almost like people are playing a rhythm game sometimes, right? Or
Yeah,
like
yeah, no,
some
hundred
sort of
percent, 100%. Yeah,
like
yeah,
fight. The best one I heard, I think it was Aiken describe it is like fighting the Mega Man boss or like the Dark Souls boss, where
yeah,
you're
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
memorizing these set patterns and you sort of do this one option, and, you know.
Yeah, no, honestly, totally. Yeah, and I came into the lesson like wanting to be able to conceptualize and learn some of that, and I definitely feel like you've
Awesome,
like presented it in a good way. So yeah,
great.
awesome. It was
Um,
really good.
Yeah, if also there is if you do leave, you'll get like a little message about a testimonial after. So if you do leave one, then you get I think it's 15% off. So if you were looking to do another one, I definitely recommend that.
Oh,
Obviously, it
sweet.
helps me out.
Yeah, definitely. I won't do a meme.
Yeah, don't do a I am Gregor
Yeah, yeah,
Gleason or
yeah, yeah.
whatever. Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, I'll speak to you again then.
Awesome. Thanks. All right.
See you.
Take it easy.